Morning, guys. Thanks for joining us on this early Friday morning. We're going to get going quite promptly. We'll give it an extra minute for everyone's joining because there's still quite a lot of people to join. I know it's a minute early, but we'll start shortly, and I'll speak to you guys in a sec. Thanks. Right, good morning, guys. Thanks for joining the call. There's still a few people joining, but I want to get started nice and early. I hope you've all got your coffees and your teas ready and raring to go. We're here today to demonstrate, give you a first look and feel of Business Central. I've got Janine Jurich with me, our Dynamics pre-sales lead, and quite a lot of you guys know me. It's Phil Almond, so I work with quite a lot of you alongside Paddy, our other GP account manager. Today's agenda looks like this, so it's just a brief introduction from me. I've got wages on with one of the attendees today that I'm going to speak for no longer than 5 minutes today. So I'm definitely going to try and win that wager. So it's not a death by PowerPoint and or a sales pitch at this point. It's going to get you straight to where you guys want to, what you guys want to see. So thereafter, it's the BC demo with Janine. I've missed an N on my slide there. Apologies, Janie. Her name is definitely Janine, not Janie. And thereafter, so what next? I'll do a brief little slide about what we can do for you next and the natural next steps for you, what that should be. And thereafter will be any questions. That'll be time permitting, so I appreciate it's very early this morning. We'll get through as many as we can. And anything else that we're going to be catching up with you over the next few weeks about the next steps, so we can answer any questions there and then. I guess I don't need to say anymore, really. That's where we're at. So I will hand over to Janine. Let me give you presenter, Janine. Hang on. Bear with me, because I always struggle. Make presenter. Yep, I think you should be now in charge, Janine. So it should be over to you.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Phil.
I can see your screen.
Okay, great stuff.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this webinar. As Phil said, this is just going to be an overview of Business Central and what you can expect with the Business Central product. When you log into Business Central, you are going to be taken through to a web browser because Business Central is in the cloud. So you'll be able to access Business Central through the web browser. You would log into office.com, go find the app, there's Business Central, and then once you click onto the app, you will then be taken to the home screen that you see in front of you. Okay, because it is a web browser, you do have the option to duplicate tabs. So you are able to work in one company simultaneously, or alternatively, if you have a multi-company organization, you can then duplicate tabs and then work in various companies simultaneously at the same time with multiple tabs at the top without having to log in and log out every single time. Just so you are aware, Business Central is also multi-currency. While we're here, because I'm not going to go into the multi-currency part of the demo, but it is multi-currency. It does have intercompany functionality as well as consolidation functionality with the Business Central suite. Okay, so I'm just going to go through a couple of features on the role center just so that you can get an idea of what you can expect. Okay, so as I said, you're going to get into this dashboard. This is known as a role center, and Business Central comes with a number of predefined role centers that you can assign to your users based on their roles and tasks within the organization. Okay, I've assigned myself the Business Manager Role Center just so I can show you a couple of key features, but this will look different dependent on what role center you assign to your users, and you do have the flexibility of creating your own dashboards. They are known as profiles, so you're able to customize these and then assign them to various users. Okay, just to add as well, the role center or this dashboard that you're looking at is real time. So as and when the users are processing, it will be updated, and Business Central is permission driven. So just because you can see it or see the function doesn't necessarily mean the user would be able to do the function if the permission wasn't granted. Okay. So looking at the top, the way that you would navigate around Business Central would be the application areas here at the top. I could just then do a drop down, and then I would be able to see the various functions within the application area. What I could also do is click on this icon, and what it's going to do is going to give me more of a list view, once again, based on the role center that I've assigned myself. Okay, I could go to explore more roles, and essentially what this does, it gives me the entire functionality that's available within Business Central for me to go and search. So for instance, let's just say I'm looking for something that's relating to customers. You'll see as I start typing, okay, will receive blue dots everywhere. Don't know if you can see that, and then it will then highlight wherever I've any functionality or function that's available within Business Central to what I've typed at the top. So you don't even need to type out the entire word. It will then just suggest for you. Okay, I'm going to go back to the home screen. One last way that you can navigate around Business Central, and you will notice that I will do this during the course of the demo because it's easier for me. We've got this little icon here. So what this icon does, same sort of function. If you're looking for customers, you don't need to type out the entire word. You just need to put a couple of characters of what you're looking for, and then Business Central will suggest pages and tasks. Okay, so you can then expand and say show all, and you'll see that that's everything that's relating to what you've typed at the top. And similarly with the reports, okay, you can just say show all, and then you'll see all your reports that come with Business Central together with what you've typed there at the top. Okay. What you can do is bookmark things to your role center, which means that you'll be able then to personalize and attach things here as a bookmark, so you don't have to go and search for them. We've also got quick actions here. This allows you just to create documents on the fly. So for instance, if you wanted to create a new sales invoice without having to go and search for sales invoices and selecting new, you could then just select sales invoice here, and what it's going to do is then just create the document for you. Okay, if I go further down, you'll see that there's a number of KPIs that is available on the dashboard. Once again, this is going to be different based on the role center that you've assigned. Okay, but it is also very interactive. So for instance, if I wanted to go and look at my overdue sales invoice amounts, I could just click on this value, and what it's going to do is then going to take me through to my list of my overdue sales invoices. Okay, but we will get back to all of this during the course of the demo. Also, these queues, these are known as queues. They've also got flexibility where you can drill down. So let's just say you wanted to go and see your ongoing sales orders. You could just select on the queue, and what it's going to do is then going to take me through to my list of my sales orders. Okay. What you can also do with these queues is, I'm not sure if you can see, but they are various colors. Okay, and this setup allows you to define different thresholds based on different KPIs. So you have the flexibility of specifying what thresholds you want to define per queue, and then once you see the color, when you log into Business Central, you will know what to action and what not to action based on the color that you've set as part of the threshold. Okay, if I go further down, you'll notice there is a chart here. Okay, so these are also KPI charts that's available within Business Central. And just so you are aware, these are the standard ones that come with Business Central, but you are able to create your own charts and attach them to the dashboard. Okay, if I go one step back, you'll notice that you can hover over these charts and to get some more information. If I do a drop down here, I can say previous chart, next chart, etc. Okay, same sort of thing. I can hover over, get some more data, and then I also have the flexibility of selecting the period in which I want to see this data so that I can get the necessary reporting out of Business Central. Okay, on to the next one is Power BI. as you're probably aware, Power BI is a Microsoft product, so it does integrate into Business Central as standard. Okay, so it's got a standard connector. You just need to set up your Power BI reports and then attach them to Business Central. Business Central does have Power BI reports that come out the box. Okay, so what you would be able to do is you would be able to select expand here. And basically what it's going to do, instead of leaving Business Central, it is going to give you the same look and feel as if you were in Power BI, but you're not actually leaving the Business Central application. Okay, then from here, based on the reports that you have created and attached to Business Central, you would then be able to go and view those reports. Okay, the one report that you're looking at now does come standard with Business Central. It's known as a content pack that's can be connected to Business Central. Okay, if I go further down, we've got a favorite account section. This is based on your GL accounts. So let's just say, for instance, every single day you're wanting to see your movement of your bank account balance. You can then put your bank account GL account that you want to monitor, and then every single morning when you log in, you'll be able then to see the movement of the bank balance. You also then have the opportunity to do drill downs. So everywhere within Business Central where it's blue and underlined, it means that it's got drill down capabilities. So I can just click on this value, and what it's going to do is then going to take me through to the entries that make up that value. Okay. Next one, we've got a simplified TB that you can attach to your role center, as well as a P&L or a balance sheet. So any financial reporting, you can then attach simplified reports without having to go run the full report, which of course is available within Business Central. Once again, full drill down capabilities. I can just go and select on this value, and what it's going to do is going to take me through to the entries that make up that value. Okay, and then lastly, we've got a report inbox section. And essentially what this is, it allows you to schedule reports. So let's just say every single Monday morning at 9 o'clock, you would like to run a report without having to go physically do it. Every single Monday morning at 9 o'clock, you have the option to schedule it, and then Monday morning at 9 o'clock, it will be available here for you to retrieve. Okay, and you'll notice you do have different various output types that you can schedule the report in. Okay, so that's the role center. Next I'm going to go through is the filtering and saving views capabilities. So I'm just going to go through to the general ledger entries. Okay, so I'm just going to put a filter in here. We've got this little filter icon here, and I'm going to start filtering the data. Okay, so let's just say I wanted to filter my posting date. Okay, so I'm just going to select posting date. I know I have data for 2022, so I'm just going to put in my filter for 2022. Okay, and then you'll notice that the data gets filtered, and you'll notice a little filter icon there, so I can see that this column or field has been filtered on. Okay, from there I can add multiple. So let's just say I wanted to also filter by my cost center. We're going to select cost center 3, for instance. Okay, once again, it's now filtered down my data, and it's applied a filter so that you can see there on the cost center code. Okay, next one, just to prove a point, I'm just going to select departments. I'm going to select finance, and what it's going to do is then filter it down further. Okay, so the idea of this is you have flexibility of creating, for filtering data and then saving these views. And these saving views are similar to your smart lists that you are used to. I'm just going to select, just save it as demo. Okay, so as I mentioned, these will be similar to the smart list that you are used to. So once I've saved these views, and you're able to save as many as you want, and I go out of the page, and then if I come back in, you'll notice that the filter has been released. Okay, but I can go back to the one that I've saved previously and then be able to retrieve that. Okay, this is available everywhere within Business Central, so not only the general ledger entries, but as well as every other page that you can see within Business Central. So for instance, if I go to my customer ledger entries, okay, once again, you'll notice here there's a couple of views are saved, just to prove a point here. So let's just say I wanted to see all my document types invoice. What it's going to do is then just filter out my document type invoice. Okay. Back to my general ledger entries, I just want to show you a couple of more features. Keep in mind, everything that I do show you is available everywhere within Business Central. Some of these functions may be applicable on some pages and some may not. Microsoft just tried to keep everything consistent throughout the Business Central platform. That's why you will be able to see the function everywhere. Okay, so we've got this little icon here, and essentially what this allows you to do is just export the data that you see on screen into Excel. You've also got the edit in Excel functionality. In theory, the edit in Excel functionality would not work on the general ledger entries, because obviously it is posted entries and you wouldn't want to change posted data. But as I mentioned, Microsoft tried to keep everything consistent. But this edit in Excel function would be used in journals. So you could download a template in Excel, create your journals in Excel, and then publish it back into Business Central. Or alternatively, what you could do is use the edit in Excel function for updating data. So for instance, let's just say you wanted to bulk update customers' payment terms from 15 days to 30 days without individually having to go and change them. You can download your customer list, change the payment terms from 15 to 30, and then publish it back into Business Central in one go. Okay, so that's the idea of the edit in Excel function. Then we've got the share to Teams. Okay, because Teams is also a Microsoft product, you can essentially just say share to Teams. I'm not sure if you can see the screen opening here, but you'll notice there that the link will be available in your Teams chat. You'll be able to add a message and then send it through off to your colleague. Okay, so what gets sent to your colleague is the URL that's here at the top. Granted that they have a Business Central license and granted that they have permissions to view this page, they will be able to click on the link and it will then direct them straight to this page. Okay. Similarly, with the copy link, you could just copy the link, which would be the URL here at the top. You can open Outlook, send an email to a colleague. Once again, granted that they have a Business Central license and they have permissions to view the page, they will then be able to click on the license and it will then take them through to the page for them to action whatever you've asked them to action. Okay. Okay, next I'm going to go through to the chart of accounts. I just want to explain the concept of the chart of accounts and how it works within Business Central, because it does slightly work differently to than GP. Okay, so Business Central works together with chart of accounts and dimensions. Okay, so the idea of dimensions within Business Central is to simplify the chart of accounts and also then allows you to do reporting and slicing and dicing of data within Business Central. Okay, so as an example, instead of having multiple salary accounts for various departments, so let's just say you have 5 departments, you don't need to have 5 salary GL accounts. You could have 1 salary GL account, have a department as a dimension, right? And then post all your entries into that 1 GL account, but still have the flexibility of filtering out by department based on those dimension values. Okay, so I'm just going to go and quickly go through to the dimensions just to explain a little bit. Okay, so you have the option to create 8 dimensions. Okay, and it is user defined, so you can define based on your reporting requirements. So you would have 8, and then within the dimension, you've got dimension values, and these values are the values that are going to be tagged on transactions. Okay, and this list is unlimited. So you can create as many dimension values as you want to then be used for your reporting. And I will go through all of this in due course. Okay, so just to recap, the chart of accounts use the dimensions, so not segments like you are used to. It's going to be more simplified, your chart of accounts, using dimensions and then posting those entries with the dimension values. So if I go into this chart of accounts, for instance, just to show you, you'll notice here that these entries, based on what you've set up in the system, get tagged with the various dimensions, okay, because my cost center is also a dimension, which then again allows me then to filter out the data, as we saw previously. If I just want to go to department, for instance, and filter out finance, it will then filter out the data based on finance. Okay, so that's the idea. If I go one step back, I also want to show you something else. So on the actual GL account card, keep in mind this is everywhere in Business Central on every single master data record. The setup can be applied. You would then go to dimensions and then set a default dimension so that dimensions don't get missed when posting, because once again, these dimensions are going to be imperative for your reporting. Okay, so looking at the setup, we've got the cost center and I've made it code mandatory, but the dimension value code here is blank, right? And this means that the user will be forced to post a cost center to this GIL account, but they can choose any value. Where the second example shows that the dimension value is set as finance, okay, but it's now set as same code, which means only finance can be only finance can be posted to this GIL account. And the same code just also defaults the dimension value to the transaction, so it's less user interaction to then fill out the necessary dimension values on a record. Okay, just to highlight again, the dimensions are imperative for the reporting, which we will move on to next, just so I can give you a little bit of a taste of what's possible. But just keep in mind, this is important, and this setup is on all master data records within Business Central. Okay. All right, so what I'm going to do now is just going to go back to the home screen. I just want to quickly show you the analysis views. Okay, so these analysis views are also user-defined reporting reporting tool to allow you to slice and dice data out of the system. Okay, so if I go to select analysis view, okay, we've got the show lines as GIL accounts, and let's just say I wanted to see my GIL account split by cost center, because cost center is one of my dimensions. I can go then say cost center, just put in for 2022, because I know I have data for 2022. If I go say show matrix, what it's going to do, it's going to then give me my GIL accounts, my full total, and then my splits of by cost center. Once again, I have flexibility of doing drill downs. I can drill down and go and see the entries that make up that value. Okay, if I go one step back, let's just say I want to see my department by cost center. So this is where the slicing and dicing of data comes from. I can then select department by cost center, just need to put my date range in again. And if I then say show matrix, what it's going to do is then split it by department by cost center. Once again, I have the option to drill down and see the entries that make up that value. And as you will notice, you've also got the option to export this to Excel. All right, moving on, I'm going to go through to the GL budgets. Okay, so Business Central, you're allowed to create as many budgets as you want. And you're also able to use the GL budgets for a forecasting tool. Okay, so you'll notice that there's budgets and forecasts that can be created within the GL budgets. And essentially what this does is, let me just put this back as my date range. Okay, and essentially what this allows you to do is then create your budget, but keep in mind that because the dimensions are imperative for reporting, you would create the budgets also with the dimension combinations so that you can do your financial reporting if you needed to do actual versus budget, for instance. Okay, so you'll notice that there's various entries within this GL account. It's because of the different combinations that can be used for the reporting. Okay, and the way that you'd be able to create these budgets is you could just manually type in a value. Okay, or you could change an existing value, but many users just export to Excel. Okay, so they export it out to templates, they populate the budget in Excel and then import it back into Business Central. Or you've got the option to copy a budget. Okay, and then just to give you an idea of what you can copy is you can copy your actuals to a new budget. And once you copy your actuals, let's say from a previous year, you are then able to add an adjustment factor, and then that will be applied to your actuals and then create a new budget for you. Or alternatively, you can just copy from an existing budget to a new budget. And then once you have done that, regardless if you use your actuals or a budget, once you've created a new budget, you still then have the flexibility of exporting it out to Excel, making changes, and then importing it back in. Okay, and then you also have the flexibility here on budgets. Let's just say you wanted to filter by cost center 3. You can then select here cost center 3, and then what it will do, it will then just filter out that data, just in case you wanted to have a view of your budgets. Okay, next I'm going to go through is to the financial reports. Okay, these financial reports within Business Central is user-defined reports, so you can create as many as you want, and you can define how the rows of the report looks as well as the columns. Okay, so I'm just going to look at a simple P&L, and I'm just going to view the report. Okay, let me just put in my date range. Sorry, just wrong report. Supposed to go into this one. Okay, so if I go into the report here, take out that filter. Okay, so what you're looking at here is a simple P&L with the net change. Once again, drill down capabilities, I can then select on that value, and what it's going to do is then allow me to drill down and go and look at the entries that make up that value. If I go one step back, okay, because I said you can define the rows, so how you want to define the rows as well as the columns, I just want to show you a couple of column ideas that you can get out of the financial reporting functionality. So yeah, you can see the column definition as net change, and yeah, you can see a number of columns, right? Column definitions. And once again, this is also user defined, so you can create these as you want based on formulas for previous year transactions, current year, year to date, etc. So I'm just going to show you a couple just to show you. So if you wanted to go actual versus budget comparison, I can say okay. You'll notice that it does change. Okay, and because now I'm making use of a budget, I then have the flexibility of adding a GL budget so that the system then can filter out and use that to report on. Okay, so I'm just going to show you a couple more just to give you an idea. Okay, once again, we can do the let me go balance by budget, just so you can see you can work out actual percentages. Okay, so you can see a variance percentage. What you can also do is see your net change by cost center. Okay, like we saw similarly with the analysis views, you have the option to create them as the financial reports. If I say, let's say, current period versus year to date budget, you'll notice that the report changes drastically because I have created these columns as my reporting definition, my column definitions. And then lastly, just to show you one more, if I go through to monthly, you'll have flexibility then to see all of these values by month. Okay, obviously the budget wouldn't be applicable in this view, but that is available. And then from here, you also have the flexibility of filtering out by dimension if you need it. Okay, so that's the idea of the financial reports. You also then have the option to either update an existing Excel spreadsheet, okay, so it would create a new tab, or you could just export to a new template, and then you have the option to print. Okay, just to show you the printing capabilities within Business Central, okay, and this is available on all reports. You'd be able to define the parameters, but what I wanted to show you is the send to. And what the send to does is it gives you the option of how you want to output the report. Okay, so you have these options. Once you select it, that's how the report then would be outputted within Business Central. And this is on all reports, as I mentioned. Okay, going to go through to journals quickly. I just want to show you a couple of features on the general journals. Okay, so looking at this journal, okay, what I wanted to show you is we have deferral functionality within Business Central. Okay, and essentially what this allows me to do is I can create as many deferral templates as I want to use within Business Central, and these are used for deferrals as well as prepayments. And they also are able to use these on journals as well as sales documents and purchase documents. Okay, so just to show you what's available. As a default, this is just what you would set up on the template. You would define the deferral or prepayments account where the deferral or prepayment needs to be posted to. You would specify the percentage on what you want to defer, your calculation method. As you can see, there is various ones, and as well as when is the start date of that prepayment or deferral. It's imperative then you add your number of periods and then your period description. Business Central has these type of characters that then can define if, as an example, this is month and year. Okay, so just to give you an idea, I'm just going to select month number 3. Okay, you'll see that my posting date is the 15th of April. Okay, so if I now click on this icon or this button, what it's going to do is going to take me through to my deferral schedule. And because the start date is the 15th, it's obviously going, and it was straight line, it's now tried to defer over that that period. But what I can do is, let's just say I wanted to start on the 1st of the 5th. Okay, so if I go 01/05/23, and you do have flexibility to do this, change the start date here, and then I can say recalculate schedule. What it's going to do is then recalculate the schedule, and then that will then be posted together with the journal. Okay, so if I go preview post, and we do have this preview post functionality everywhere within Business Central, and this allows you to see the entries, to see where they're going to get posted before you actually commit to posting to the GL. So if I say preview posting, just to show you, then those entries would be deferred, okay, over the 3 months, and then you wouldn't have to worry about it going forward, okay. And this, as you can see, it got posted. All right, and then you also have the flexibility of copying and pasting in journals, as I mentioned before, and also saving journals and then retrieving them at any point in time. So if I go into my monthly journals, for instance, I could then save these as a journal and then populate it back when I'm doing my monthly journals. Okay. All right. Next, I'm going to go through to the customers. Okay. So what you're looking at here is the customer list. Okay. You'll notice you've got a fact box here on the side, and basically what this gives me is more information on the record that I'm standing on. You'll notice that it's got Power BI reports that I can connect to, and then I've also got all the sales history based on the record I'm standing on. So as I move down this customer list, you'll see that the data changes. Okay, and then if I just go to this advantage one, because this is the one I want to use, you also have the option to add attachments. You can add a link, and you've also got the ability to add notes, and it will always date stamp when the note was added and by which user. Okay, and the links that you add, you could just click on the link, and what it will do, it will then just take you directly to your page. Okay, so if I go through into the chart of accounts itself, okay, there's just a couple of things that I want to show you. I'm not going to go through each and every single field. Once again, you have this fact box here, okay, with all the detail and customer statistics. And once again, you can see all those attachments that we saw on the previous page. Okay, I'm just going to close this for now, just so I can show you a couple of things. One of the key features is we've got the document layout functionality. And essentially what this allows you to do is set up multiple reports that you would be sending out to, or documents out to your customers. And you would then be able to define the email account that the document needs to be sent to, as well as an email body. And these document layouts also allow you to customize your reports, your report layouts. So you are able to have multiple and assign them to various customers if that is a requirement. Okay, you will notice here the sales invoice would go to one email account, and the customer statement then you could then send to another email account. You are able to add multiple email accounts by just using a semicolon and just adding the additional email accounts that you want to send these documents to. Okay, what I also want to show you is we have customer statements that can be sent out of Business Central via email, as well as reminders or dunning letters. Okay, so all of that functionality does exist on customers. But what I want to just show you is I want to just send quickly a customer statement just to show you. See, so report output is email. I'm just going to say okay. And what it's going to do is just going to be sent out by email. And the reason why I've showed you that is because I wanted to just show you that every single email that you send out of Business Central, okay, will be tracked against the customer record or vendor record within Business Central. Then you still have the option to go back into that email. Okay, you'll notice there that was sent to Justin because I had assigned that email account. You've got your email body. Once again, this is customizable, so you can create whatever email body you want to with logos, etc. if you wanted to. And then you'll notice that there would be then the attachment of the customer statements, and you can always resend it or edit and resend if you require. So if I edit, I can also then add additional files to that email, and then once again it will be sent out of Business Central by email. Okay, just going to discard that. And then lastly, just to go back to the customer card, just wanted to quickly show you. So on the customer card itself as well, we've got a bit of a statistics to show you what's happening with the customer, as well as an age accounts receivable, a little bit of an aging. We do have a standard aging report, okay, within Business Central. But what I wanted to show you is there is various reports that we can export out for your aging. So as an example, I just want to show you this Excel preview. Okay, and the reason why I want to show you this report is because I just want to show you that these reports are built. Sorry, let me just close this. These reports are built so that you can have you can be interactive with them. Okay, so if I enable the content here, you'll notice that the report then gets created. So you're just waiting a couple of minutes. So here's the report that's created. You'll be able to see it by period in your foreign currency as well as your local currency. Okay, you can also see due by currencies. As I said, Business Central is multi-currency, and then you have the flexibility of also then slicing and dicing the data based on your dimensions. So remember I said the dimensions that we saw earlier, you can then use these slices to then slice out the data in order to see based on the dimensions that you're wanting to see. Okay, so I just wanted to show you it is interactive. You can expand, you can change things because this is a pivot table. You do have that flexibility. Okay, so I'm just going to close that. All right. Next, I'm going to move on into the documents itself. Okay, so Business Central has sales quotes to sales orders to sales invoices. You do not need to start at the sales quote stage. You can just start at a sales order or a sales invoice, once again, based on your business requirements. Okay, so I'm just going to go through to the sales order. Keep in mind all of the documents, sales documents do look the same within Business Central. Here would be your sales order list. Once again, this is now dependent on the record you're standing on. Okay, so if I go through, you'll see that the data changes. And once again, everywhere it's blue and underlined, you have the flexibility of drilling down and being able to see the entries that make up that value. Okay, if I go one step out, I just want to quickly go through to this order just to quickly show you. Okay, so this is how the order would look. Okay, you would add your lines, and once again, you can see your deferral code here that you can add to your sales order lines, and then you can go ahead and post it. Okay, one thing that I do want to show you is you also have the option to add notes and attachments to an order, and once it then goes through to a posted sales invoice, it does flow through, and then you're also able to see these documents and notes on the general ledger entries. Okay, so whatever attachments, notes you add, it does flow through to the ledger. Okay, one thing that I do want to show you here is once again, we have the preview functionality. So preview posting, so you're able to view what's going to be posted before you commit to posting. We can also say post and send, and essentially what that's going to do is just going to post the document and going to send out the invoice to the customer. Okay, and then what we can also do is that's obviously one by one. We also have the option to say select more, so I can send multiple at a time. Okay, or I can select all of them, and then what I can do is say post and send, or I can then just post the batch and send it. Okay, so that option is available. Next, I'm going to quickly go through to the cash receipt journals. Okay, so on the cash receipt journals, let me just close that. Business Central has two ways of doing cash receipt journals. Okay, so the first line is a one-to-one. Okay, so this is a receipt or a payment that you receive from the customer. You would then specify the customer who you received the payment from. Obviously, your balancing account would be your bank account, and then you'll notice here it is then applied to an invoice. Okay, so this is a one-to-one, and then when this gets posted, the payment will be applied against the invoice and then closed off automatically. Okay, so the application will be done upon posting. On the second example, what we have here is you've got a value. You'll see that it is applied, but it's not to a specific invoice. It's because you can apply or register a receipt against the customer against multiple invoices. Okay, so that you can record the lump sum that you receive from the customer to the bank account to assist with your bank recs, but you can still then create the individual payments, apply to the invoice, and then close off the entry upon posting. So if I just step on this line and go to apply entries, you'll see that these are the documents that value has been applied to, and then these are the entries that will then be payment will be processed against and closed against the invoice. Okay. Another thing that I just want to quickly show you with receipts, we've got a function called register customer payments, and this is the easier way to do receipts, in my opinion. Okay, so what you're looking at here is all your open sales invoices within the system. Okay, so let's just say you look at your bank statement and you say you've received this payment, you received this payment, and you've received this payment. Okay, you can then just tick which payment you received. You are able to change the date of this payment that you received, as well as the amount if it was a partial payment. Okay, from here, what you could do is just go ahead and post the payments. What it will do, same thing as our first example on the cash receipt journal. It's just going to create the payment and then do the allocation against the invoice and close off the entry. Okay, another example, as our second example that we saw on the cash receipt journal. So let's just say you received a lump sum from the customer and they've paid these 3 invoices, for instance. Once again, you can change the date received and the partial payment, the amount received if it was a partial payment. And then you have the flexibility of saying post lump payment. So what it's going to do, as a second example, it's going to post the lump sum to the bank account to assist with your bank recs, but it's going to post the individual payments to the customer account, allocated to the invoice, and close off the entry. So essentially what it's doing the cash receipt journal in the background for you without you having to do a journal manually. Okay. Moving on to the suppliers. Okay, in Business Central, they're known as vendors. So if I go through to the vendors, they are very similar to the customers. So I'm not going to go into too much detail. It's got the document layouts, the history, everything else that we've seen on the customer. I just want to quickly show you that on the supplier record or the vendor record, you do have this function here for attaching bank accounts. Okay, and these bank accounts are then used for BACS payments. Okay, which we will get back to now shortly. And as we saw earlier with the reports, we do have an aging for the suppliers, for the vendors, for the payables, and the reports that's available within the system. Okay, so if I go through to purchases, once again, like we saw, or how I explained for the sales, we do have purchase quote to orders to invoice, but you don't necessarily have to start at a quote. You can go to order and invoice. Okay, so I'm just going to go through to a purchase order. Okay, and what I want to show you on the purchase order is we have approval functionality within Business Central. So when I say approval functionality, I mean we have workflows we can put everywhere. So for any new record that's created for customers, vendors, for any journals, for any sales documents, any purchase documents, it would have to go through a workflow approval before it's then released in order to post. Okay, so what you would see here is you would have a status, so you'll be able to see what's pending, so what's waiting in approval to be approved. Released means that it would be that is approved, and open just means that it's waiting to be sent for through a workflow. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly show you this order. As you can see, okay, it looks very similar to what we saw on the sales orders. Once again, it also has this functionality here with the fact box. And then once you created your document, you have then the flexibility of just going to say send approval request, and you'll notice here the status will change from open to pending approval once I send this request. Okay, so it's been sent, and then we've got set to pending approval. Okay, so the way that these notifications are sent out, depending on who you've set up to be the approver, they would either receive an email notification. I'm not sure if you can see this because I'm not sure if it's showing just the screen or my actual page. Okay, but you would get an email notification. It will specify what document needs to be approved, who created it, what is the supplier, and on that email there's going to be a link. Okay, and then once you click on that link, what it's going to do is going to direct the user straight to that document. Granted that they have an approval license, they will be able to view the document and any attachments that has been attached to the document, okay, or any notes, and then they will be able to either approve, reject, or delegate the approval. Okay, so the approval notifications is by email, as I mentioned, or you can pick up the approval request through on your dashboard. Okay, so these are one of those queues that I mentioned earlier, and then they will have the option to open the record, as I mentioned, approve, reject, or delegate. Okay. You are able to add comments if you reject, just so that the user knows if they need to fix anything before resending for approval. Okay. The way that the approvals work, if I go through to the approval user setup, okay, so you can do these approvals in a hierarchy of value. Okay, so for instance, looking at this example, you'll be able to set your values. So admin sent it's for approval. Admin's approver is demo user 2. Got a limit of 1. If it was over 1, it would go to demo user 2. Demo user 2's approver is Janine. Their limit is 10. And then if it is over 10, it would go through to Janine, and you'll see that it's unlimited, and then Janine would be the end of the process. Okay, so that's one way of setting up approvals via hierarchy, or you can just do specific people if you wanted to. Or alternatively, what you could do is I can go through and set up various workflow user groups. So if I go through to the workflow user groups, once again, you can create as many as you want, depending on how you want the approvals to work. So if I open this one, as an example, all 3 users have to approve in this sequence in order for the document to be approved and released before it can be posted. So admin would need to approve first, then Janine, then Justin, and then only the document would be approved. Second example, we've got everyone in the group in no particular sequence, but everybody within the group would need to approve it. Okay, and then lastly, this is just a configuration setup. You could create a group, and one person within the group would need to approve it before the document would be approved and released and ready for posting. Okay. Just so you are aware, we can put automated job queues on. So once a document gets approved and the status is set to released, it can auto post. So you don't need a user to go back and post the document. Okay, so that functionality does exist in Business Central. Just going to go through to the payment journals now. Okay, so looking at the payment journals, in order to do a payment run, you could just say prepare and say suggest vendor payments. And essentially what this function is going to do is whatever date you've inserted here, okay, so this date and everything before this date that's overdue, the system will suggest as part of the payment run. Okay, you would then be able to add the necessary parameters if you wanted to, but I'm just going to leave it like this. And essentially what the system's done now is suggested my payments for me. I have the option here I can add and delete entries here if I don't agree with this, or if I don't want to pay a couple of invoices. What you could also do is you can send out vendor remittances. So just to show you, you can send it for one or for all. I just want to do this manually so I can just show you, as we saw with the customer statement, it would create the email for you. You can create an email body, and it would then add the remittance to it and then send it out. Okay, so I just want to discard this email. And then if I go back to the journal itself, what I can do is then from here, I can just say export. Okay, and what it's going to do is then just export the file out for me. Okay, so this is the manual way of doing it. You would then need to upload the file into the bank. Okay, or alternatively, we do make use of a third-party app called Yabrio, which does a live bank feed. Okay, so if you were using Yabrio, you could then just say send payments to bank. Without having to export out the file, it would just automatically send the payments to the bank. You would have to obviously sign into your bank portal with your credentials, and depending on how the signatories work in your bank and how you've set it up, all of that process would still have to follow. It's just automatically sending these payments to your bank to create the batch for you to send. Okay, and then once you're ready to post, you could just go ahead and post the journal. Okay, I'm just going to quickly move through to the bank accounts. Okay, so within Business Central, you'll be able to set up your bank accounts that is linked to your GEL account. So every single payment or receipt that you are doing within Business Central would need to be posted against the bank account. And the reason for that is because the system uses these bank account ledger entries together with the bank recs, which I'm going to show you in a bit. Okay, so if I go one step back, you'll notice if your Yabrio, so the third-party app, is installed, you'll be able to see your real-time online bank balances, and this refreshes every single hour. Okay, but you can update it at any point in time, as you can see there, and then you just have the option to connect the banks to your various banks that's available. Okay, so if I go one step back and I'll just go through to the bank account reconciliations. Okay, you will notice that there's Copilot also everywhere within Business Central, but that's a topic for another day. Just wanted to quickly show you this. So you've got your bank rec. You would select the bank that you want to reconcile, the date of the statements, and then the balance loss statement would be the statement ending balance that rolled over from your previous bank rec. Okay, then what you're looking at here is you've got your bank account ledger entries. Okay, so those ones that we saw earlier, on the right hand side. And then on the left-hand side, we've got the bank statement lines. Okay, so let's just say I wanted to go and import a bank statement. Okay, this is the manual way of doing it. I'm just going to import a bank statement, select this bank statement. What it's going to do is then import my lines. Okay, if you were using Yavrio, you could just say get transactions from bank. So it wouldn't be a manual thing. You could just say get transactions from bank. It's going to ask you which date period you want to pull through, and it would then automatically create your bank statement lines here for you. Okay, then what you would be required is to do matching, obviously. So just to show you, let's just say I want to match this entry to this entry. Okay, I'm not sure if you can see it, but there's blue there and there's a blue there. Okay, so the system knows that those two entries were selected. And then from here, what I can do is just say match manually. Okay, so once you match it, it will then be highlighted green. Okay, or alternatively, what you can do is you can remove the match if you want to, if it was done incorrectly. Or what you can do is say match automatically. So Business Central is going to take certain criteria and try and match left to the right. Okay, and then you can actually put a tolerance in so that the system can put a tolerance between the statement lines and the day that you posted the entry in Business Central, because as you know, sometimes the dates do differ that show on the statement as opposed to what you've posted in the system. Okay, so let me just put 3 days as an example. Okay, for my tolerance, going to say okay. So it says here 10 out of 14 were matched. Okay, and I know that these didn't match because this is the 31st, and these entries were posted. The ones that didn't get matched were all posted on the 23rd and the 25th. Okay, so it does look at certain things like that. Just want to put in 10 days because I just want to show you something else. It's just going to overwrite the ones I've already matched and say okay. Now it's reconciled 3 out of the 14. Okay, what you can do from here, you'll see that this one didn't get reconciled. So let's just say you forgot to register or process an entry into Business Central. From your bank statement, you do have then the option to do that directly from the bank rec. So I can do from here, what I can go is I can go and say transfer to general journal. I'm just going to select the journal that I want to transfer this line to. And essentially what it's going to do is going to insert the description that came through from the bank statement line. Going to put the amount because the amount came through from the bank statement line on the bank rec, as well as the bank account because it knows what bank account to use. All you would need to do is just insert the account, okay, of where this is going to get posted, because obviously the system wouldn't know that. I can say it's going to go to the bank charges, and then from here, if I post this journal, okay, and I'm just going to press escape. And if I press escape, you'll see then there it's been matched. And then I can go ahead and post if it then balances with the statement ending balance. Okay. Then what I also can do is I've got a report that I can run from the bank rec. Okay. And this is how the report would look for you to download if needed. Okay. And then lastly, I am aware of, conscious of time. Just want to quickly go through the fixed assets. So if I go through to the fixed assets, okay, you're able to create as many assets as you want. You'll notice you can also add documents and notes to the fixed asset if you need to. If I go into the fixed assets itself, you'll be able to define the depreciation book, so the start and end date and the number of years that it needs to be depreciated. And the reason for this is because the system is going to use these parameters to automatically calculate your depreciation on a monthly basis. Okay, so if I go down through to my book value, just want to quickly show you a couple of things. You can bring your cost through, your acquisition costs through, either via a purchase invoice, okay, that you bought from a supplier, or alternatively, you can do it through a journal, but it would then be posted to the fixed asset and then the depreciation can start. Okay, so I've already ran depreciation for July and August, but Business Central has the functionality that's called calculate depreciation. And basically, this is a routine that allows you then to run, and it will automatically calculate the depreciation for each and every single fixed asset based on the parameters that you've assigned on the fixed asset card. Okay, so I just need to change this to September. Okay, I've just now put this one fixed asset that we're concentrating on, but you would obviously just leave that blank so it can run through all of them. I'm going to say okay. What it's going to do is going to say it's now created my fixed asset, my depreciation journal for me. I can just say yes, and what it's going to do here is I can see that it's now created my depreciation, and then I can go from here, just review it, post it. So successfully posted. I can just press escape, and if I go now back into my fixed asset, you'll see that the next month was recorded here as my depreciation. Okay, and then lastly, just to show you, we've got a book value 1 report, and basically what this book value 1 report does for the fixed assets, it just allows you to let me just put in a date. It's just the standard report for the fixed assets that you can use to then view your additions, your depreciations within the period, and then your book value based on the start and end date that you've added on the report view. All right, well, that's all from me. Phil, I don't know if there's anything else that you want to go through.
No, that was fantastic. Thank you very much, Janine. I'm just going to move on to the. Sorry, I'm muting myself. Just the next step. I'm just going to go on to the next steps, which is quite a key piece of information for you guys on the call. So I'm going to take my presentation. Right. So in regards to what's next for you guys, the natural next steps are based on best practice that I've found from the last 18 months of moving some of the customers we've got over from GP to BC. I've done quite a lot of these now at Advantage, and what we found the best approach is and Microsoft have helped us with this, is a funded 2-day workshop to start with. So Microsoft effectively give us the money to offer you guys the 2-day workshop for free. The first day is a consultant review day with yourselves, so going through your teams, understanding the exact functionality you need to utilize to get started on BC. And then day 2 is where the consultant will then write up a document. It's quite a hefty document, circa sort of 80 pages for some of our customers, basically outlining exactly how you use GP, relating that back to BC, any gap analysis, and effectively, as well as that, you get a high-level estimate based on that initial high-level scoping. So it's an estimate, it's not a quote. The quote will come off the back of the actual scoping for the project. So kind of the next steps for us is do that 2-day workshop. By then, you guys have seen BC on this demo, and we've done a workshop, and we know exactly, roughly what it's going to cost for you guys to move, be it a 20-day project, a 30-day project, 50, 60, 100, whatever it may be. And you get all that information, and then you can take that away, and it remains essentially valid for you to use going forward. There's no obligation to do the BC project there and then, but it's certainly worth booking in this workshop as soon as you possibly can, because it's a pot of money at Microsoft which is available. Once it's gone, and the promotion will stop. So get that booked in with your account manager, myself, Paddy, any of the other guys, as soon as you can. Thereafter, some of the things we've got available, as we've mentioned before, as paying GP customers, you're entitled to some discounts and licensing, up to 40% in some instances, which does include the Power Automate licenses. And then when you actually go into the project, depending on a few factors, qualification factors, you also can potentially be entitled to some funded consultancy for the cost of that move. From Microsoft. So that's something we can look at once we started the project, because we need to get going before that can step in. But it's certainly we'll have a good understanding of whether you qualify and what you do qualify for before we get to that point. Okay, and at that, I'm conscious of how long I told my customer how I was going to talk, so I better shut up now. But moving on to the last piece, is there any questions from you guys at this point? Obviously, appreciate we've spoken a lot today, and I can get back to you if I can't get through anymore. Janine, we've got one here.
Yeah.
Can users outside Dynamics Center approve PO based on specified email ID of approver?
No, they would need a BC license, unfortunately. But they don't have to work in the organization. They can be an external accountant if they need, or like somebody outside, but they would still need a email address and Business Central license assigned to them within the domain.
Would that need, just as a further question, because I think it might or might not come, would that need to be a full user or a team license, Janine?
No, it would be a team member license, so the lower end of the licenses.
Okay,
which is relatively cheap. Yeah.
Yeah, I think standard book price at the moment is £6.60 for the team member licenses.
Yeah.
Let me just see if there's any more questions. The question box is really hard to work, Right. Okay, still tracking. At this point, it may be a computer driver error, but I can't see any more questions at this point. All that's left to do is thank you all for your time. It's been a really good session. I appreciate that, Janine. And thanks all for joining first thing on a Friday morning. As mentioned, myself and Paddy will be reaching out to you guys, and I really do hope to encourage you guys to take advantage of that workshop with Microsoft, because it's the natural next step. All right, really appreciate your time today. Thanks, Janine, and have a lovely weekend all.
Thanks, everyone.